Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to be going over the Nikon 35mm 1.2. I just got this lens in 2 days ago. I haven't opened it, used it at all yet, and we're going to take it on a couple sessions so I can give you my first impressions on the lens and show you what it can do. So let's go do this. Casey, look off into the park. Michelle, look here. Look at each other. Perfect. Bringing back memories, huh? And kiss. Perfect, that's awesome. Yeah, so I can already tell with this, it's the shallow depth of field at the 1.2 is still super sharp. I'm getting them in shot, which I'll show on the screen right now, and it's looking amazing. So I can't wait to show you guys these. All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna have you come over here, Michelle, and have you bring your back to like right there. And then Casey, I will have you come in with your hand right here. Okay. Step in a little bit closer to her so you're almost in front of her. Yep, perfect. And then just thumb in your pocket. Your free hand will go to his chest. Yep, this is perfect. The sun's coming in right above you. Perfect. Look at each other. Awesome. And just put your hand behind his neck. Rub his head a little bit. Yep. The one on this side, yep. Just rub his neck, perfect. Awesome. Look at each other. Pretend we're not here. Awesome. Both of you look at the park. Look over at the park, guys. Awesome. Look right here, Michelle. Stay looking at the park, Casey. And then look at her. So I'm gonna have you guys go across the street and hold hands and just run towards me. Yeah, this shot's gonna be perfect because I'm gonna be able to test the 35mm autofocus and see how well it tracks compared to, what I've been used to with the 51.2. So let's get them over here. So you're gonna hold hands and you guys are just gonna run across looking at each other, laughing, pretending that you're not running through downtown Boston, right? 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect, and then look at each other again. And then both of you right here. Perfect, awesome. So I'm gonna have, Casey, I'm gonna have you step out real quick. Michelle, I just wanna test a few shots with the autofocus here on just one person. So step forward just a little bit. And I'm gonna have you put your right hand down. Yep, and then left hand is gonna just grab your forearm. Yep, perfect, just like that. No worries. Chin up just a little bit, and then turn your head to the right just a bit, and look right here at me. Yep, perfect. And smile, perfect. Give me a little bit serious, and then look off to your left here. Perfect. Awesome. And then just look here at me. Great, sweet. So yeah, running across the street there, the autofocus was perfect, just there, snapping onto the eyes. I'm gonna put it on the screen here, but you'll see like it locked right onto the eyes. So I'm noticing that this lens is a lot more responsive than the 51.2. So let's see how it continues to work out here. Hands up to his triceps there. And just lean back a bit, Michelle, and lean into her. Perfect. Oh, this is perfect. Perfect. And kiss. Awesome. Awesome, love that. Sweet. These stairs can be cool here. So let's do this. Come over to this sidewalk. And then just like nuzzle into her head there and just close your eyes, guys. Love that. Stay right there. I love that, love that, love that. Yeah. And then just give her a kiss on her hair there. Keep your eyes closed, Michelle. Yep, perfect. the bigger the piece inside the lens opens up and creates that more of that blur. So the lower the lens can go means like the blurrier you can get the background. So like in a photo like that with you guys, where even when I get like further away, it's like it just isolates just the two of you guys and everything else is kind of just slightly out of focus. So
I love that.
and then stay right there, stay right there. And look at each other again. And just laugh with each other. Perfect. Awesome, that's great. Chin up just a little bit, Casey, when you're looking at her. Awesome. Walk forward. Nope, I'm getting a, yeah. So the one thing I really love about the 35mm, where normally I'm shooting with a 50mm all day and not having that, is realizing how much I love this focal length. I used to use 35mm for 6 or 7 years of my career before I switched solely to using 50 for the majority of a session or a wedding, in just, you know, how close I can get to people, and you're not getting that like 24 or 28mm where they're starting to like, you know, look like they have big heads or anything like that. So I'm really loving that with this lens, and just I'm getting sharpness at all apertures, whether it's 1.2, you know, 4.0, like I'm getting really good details with this. So I'm really loving this glass, and I'm excited to keep testing it out here and take it out to all the weddings this year. So let's get some more pictures of them. Perfect. Casey, look here. Perfect, big smile, guys. Awesome. Awesome, look back over your shoulder, Michelle. Perfect. Look at each other, guys. Keep going. Perfect. That's great. Michelle, look here at me. Perfect. Look at each other again. And look at each other. After putting this lens through its paces in a real couple session, I finally had the time to sit down, edit the files, and analyze how it really performed. Did the Nikon 35mm 1.2 live up to the hype? Was it really worth the size, weight, and price tag? Let's talk about what worked, what surprised me, and whether or not this lens is truly a must-have for photographers. When it comes to the size, the 35mm 1.2 from Nikon is honestly one of the biggest 35mm ever made. Now this lens truly contends to the 85mm 1.2 and the 50 1.2 when it comes to its size and weight. But because the glass is so heavy inside of the lens, it needs two motors to be able to move the units around, resulting in the size of this lens. So if you're used to a more compact setup, the 35mm might be a little excessive for you. But even with its size and weight, you don't feel like the lens is so heavy that it's constantly tipping your camera forward when you're using it. Now, when it comes to the autofocus, I was truly impressed with how this lens performed. I was blown away with the 50mm 1.2's autofocus, having come from the DSLR world and that being my first mirrorless lens. But seeing the advances that Nikon's made in their S-line glass over the last few years, this lens was just performing worlds above any other lens that I've used up until this point. There was really no focus hunting. Whether I had the couple walking towards me or I had them running across the street, it was staying on target the entire time that they were moving, and there were really no frames when I had dug in and saw, oh my gosh, it missed focus on this one frame here. And the biggest thing with a lens that has a 1.2 aperture is making sure that even wide open, this lens is still gonna nail focus, and it did. As you can see in this portrait that I took of Michelle during the session, I specifically wanted to see how well it would lock onto her eyes to ensure that this portrait would look amazing afterward. Because as I said in previous videos, as long as you can get the eyes in focus, the rest of the photo is gonna make sense, especially when shooting at 1.2. And speaking of that 1.2, just the rendering and the sharpness of this lens is top notch. No matter what aperture you're shooting at, you're getting a super solid and sharp image. And the one thing that I've always loved about Nikon's premium glass is that you're getting such beautiful sharpness with very minimal chromatic aberration. As you can see in a few of these photos, there's really no chromatic aberration that needs to even be fixed in post. And the bokeh on this lens is everything that you would imagine it would be. So if you're a wedding photographer that leans into that dreamy out of focus background in your photos, you're definitely able to capture this while still being able to crank up your aperture and get so many different looks with just one lens. And as we know, no lens is perfect. So let's break down the real pros and cons. This lens has insane sharpness wide open. It's probably got the fastest 35mm autofocus in the market. It's got gorgeous smooth bokeh. The weather sealing on this lens is pro level and top notch, just like every S-line lens that Nikon produces. And if you're running a full gamut of Nikon lenses, you're not going to notice a color rendering difference between your 50mm, your 85mm, your 24-70 when you put this lens into the fold. Now, one of the cons of this lens is that it's huge. If you're a street photographer and you like to have a minimal setup and you don't want to be carrying around all this extra weight, maybe this lens isn't the one that you choose. With Nikon producing smaller options like the 40mm or even the 35mm 1.8, that might be a route that you would decide to go on rather than the 35 1.2. You don't want to sacrifice size in order to gain quality. And the second con to this lens, which is probably the biggest and most glaring thing about this lens, is that it's one of the most expensive prime lenses that Nikon produces. Outside of the 58mm knocked lens and the 85mm 1.2, the Nikon 35mm 1.2 is right up there in price tag, coming in at just over $2,700 depending on which website you're purchasing it from, making this an extremely expensive lens, especially if you're just a casual everyday shooter. Which brings me to my next con. This lens is overkill if you're just an amateur photographer. This lens is really made for the pro that's in the studio, out shooting weddings, and generally bringing in enough income for them to be able to pay their bills, provide a life for themselves with their business, and is honestly looking for tax write-offs to be able to upgrade their gear throughout the year. And after it's all said and done, even though I've only had about an hour of time working with this lens, I can tell that it's going to play an integral role in my business and elevate my work in a way that myself and my couples will truly love. For myself, I can see this being a secondary lens that I use throughout the day on a wedding, in conjunction with my 50mm, which is usually a mainstay on my camera throughout the entirety of a wedding day, giving me that wiggle room throughout the day to really just be able to capture those authentic, in-the-moment shots, being able to capture more of the atmosphere in a room, which is where I get limited with my 50mm. Will it replace my 50mm as a main lens? Most likely not, but after getting more time using it, I'll really be able to delineate where this lens falls in my workflow. If you'd like for me to do a follow-up video at the end of the wedding season and get my thoughts after using it throughout the entirety of the year, definitely leave a comment down below, and I'll make sure that I keep note of that and track my progress with it throughout the year. I'd also like to give a shout out to Josh from Trilla's Bliss for filming the entire couple session that we had in Boston. He was really able to come in the clutch in the last minute when I got this lens and threw this session together to be able to get this review out to you guys as soon as I got my hands on it. So if you love video content, make sure to go over to his channel and give him a subscribe. The link for his channel will be down in the description below. And as always, I'd love it if you did all the YouTube things: comment, like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Let me know what you think about this lens, if this is something that you're going to be using or purchasing. And if you do purchase it, I do have an affiliate link with B&H and Amazon down in the description below, which at no cost to you helps support the channel. But until the next one, guys, I will see you later.